See the red, the two red marks blinking. That means everything's cool.
Okay.
Videos.
All right.
We're going to talk about this special day, Showdown.
Huh?
Talk about the special day today for Texas
I guess not.
history. For the festival, for summer solstice, the longest day of the year.
I'm reading them as English.
Testing again. My name's Showdown Boyd, and I've got two short poems for you today. One of them I wrote, and one of them a guy named Jack Ainsworth, also known as, in fact, I think he prefers his name, Scruffy Ainsworth. Jack, he signs everything Jack Scruffy Ainsworth. He's a great friend of the arts around here and elsewhere in Northeast Texas. I think he grew up playing guitar. He's quite good at guitar, and writes songs as well as poems. And a year or two ago, we had a art show in the Art Center, and the title of it, in other words, he and I both, I think, had some photos or paintings. You could enter photos or paintings, either one, or I think sculpture as well. But anyway, the title of the event was Home, H-O-M-E, Home. And Jack and I were both asked by Mary Geisler, I guess is the way you pronounce that, who was in charge of that event. She asked both of us to write a poem to commemorate the event, which we would be reading at the reception for the beginning of the home art show. And we both did that. Interestingly, Jack, I guess because of his background, his poem was about a home in West Texas. And both of them are confined to a single page. I'll read Jack's first. It's just titled Home. Out from the sign of a West Texas town, behind some barbed wire twisted and down, among prickly pears, lizards, and snakes, is sometimes someone's old homestead, somebody's place. The roof is caved in and the floor's fallen through. Just pieces stand still where the late sun shines through. The grasshoppers sing the evening's last song. Just some old boards, everyone's gone. But once it was whitewashed, clean as a pin. You took off your boots before you went in. The wood stove stayed hot, and the biscuits were fresh. The kids said their prayers. Their mom scrubbed their necks. There was a well, a cow, and a shed. A sharecropper's dream and a straw mat for a bed. Chickens for eggs, a pot for the beans. Life hard but simple, honest and clean. Hardly a glance as one drives down that road. Life moves too fast now for people to know that long before tractors, combines, and phones, a man farmed this land, and it was his home. Jack Scruffy Ainsworth, July 13, 2018. And my poem, read at the same event, was titled The Dirt Road to Home. Muddy it was in winter, the dirt road to my childhood home. Dusty it was in summer, that rich East Texas sandy loam. Stark and unpainted was the architecture of that long ago abode. Absent of electricity, no indoor plumbing, a bourgeoisie implode. Built by country carpenters of the rustic 19th century trade. Virgin pine timber balanced atop beam posts of Bodart grade. Wood stove in the kitchen, open fireplace for winter heat. Coal oil lamplight, battery-powered radio, all things obsolete. 150 acres it was, the size of our Tenny Chapel farm. Green were our meadows, break even our financial norm. Unmechanized farming was our lot. No tractor power, only a mule. Cotton for our cash, corn to feed our livestock, agriculture's old school. We made our own clothes, using pre-printed flowers and feed sacks. Chopped our own firewood using a cross-cut shovel and a double-bit axe. Grew fields of broom corn, actually fashioned our own brooms. Canned our juices, vegetables, meat to supply the dining rooms. Our workday started early. We worked from can to cant. We milked our cows, sold surplus to Winnsboro's cheese plant. Bartered for our groceries with farm eggs and homemade butter. In that era, it was a normal way of life, no complaints to utter. We sang the old songs, made our own music in that bygone day. Pretty Red Wing, you are my sunshine, and my darling Nellie Gray. Poochie, dog love of my life, constant companion, always at my side. Saddest day of my young life, November 13, 1948, Poochie died. A home. It's not fashioned, timber, or defined the location. A lot of living, a lot of loving are required in a unique combination. If home truly is where the heart is, it's fair to claim we all win. Ah, and yes, when you have to go back home, they do have to let you in. Joanne Boyd, 725-18. Thank you. Concluding, as is customary, with a paragraph from How to Read a Poem, subtitled Fall in Love with Poetry by Edward Hirsch. We have another dozen liner or so, paragraph to share. I've never been able to read the line, quote, so in my veins red life might stream again, unquote, with any equanimity. The haunting he seems to suggest would be more terrible even than death. And so you should actually give up your own life to resurrect him. The fury behind this idea is immense. The fury of the desire to live, the fury with a consciousness of death. The fury that some love might have assuaged all this stuff. That's another word that is usually found only in poems. Assuaged. The utter lack of love infuses the poem's tone. What ferocity drives it. Keats keeps the desperation going in this lyric. He embodies it in a Shakespearean rhetoric. That desperation gives voltage to the well-wrought lines, almost lifting them off the page, almost scorching them. I hear it in the beseeching, agonized, infuriated voice. I feel it incarnated in the physical image of his once living hand. That's a wonderful poem. It is poetic, but it's only a commentary on the poem. But, I think, always my goal as a prose writer, which I spent, all of my adult life doing, it was always my goal to make my prose sound poetic, to make it sound lyrical. And sometimes I achieved that according to people who read it and commented without prompting. Without prompting from me, that it sounded to them poetic in some way. And, or maybe they would say, hey, that sounds more like poetry or something. This was indeed the highest compliment that I could ever expect from anything, any prose that I ever turned out. And I still feel that way today, so that when I write poetry, it's the same sort of thing. I'll make two other comments unrelated to the above. When Conrad and Doc and Ken were reading poems about the Cowboys or making some statements about the Cowboys in their poetry that they were reading, reminded me, I have become a real fan of a little 34-minute TV show on the Cowboy Channel. Any of you familiar with the Cowboy Channel? You ever see the Cowboy Channel on TV? Raise your hand. I'd just like to know how many of you even know about it.
Is it on Dish?
Pardon me?
The Dish program?
I'm sorry.
I got Dish. Will I find it on Dish?
I have Dish, and that's where I get it, yeah. So it's called the Cowboy Channel, so you should be able to find it pretty easy. I don't remember the number that it is because I have picked out the stuff that I want to watch on it, and I have my DVR recorded for me, so I don't actually go to the channel. And then at night, I watch I think my two favorite programs on the Cowboy Channel. One of them is. Let me mention the other one first, because it's not quite as closely related to this comment, but there is a guy named Chris Cox who is a horse trainer. I would call him a horse whisperer, after having seen a lot of his TV shows. He's just a fantastic horse trainer. And his show is just called Chris Cox Horsemanship. Is the name of the show. It comes on every week, maybe occasionally more often, but once a week. And he's a friend of Red Stiegel, who is the other guy. My actual favorite TV show is called Somewhere West of Wall Street with Red Stiegel. And Somewhere West of Wall Street is the title of one of Red Stiegel's best-known poems. Somewhere West of Wall Street. All of his poems are cowboy poetry. And, you can buy volumes of his stuff. You can go to Red Stiegel's website and buy You know, he was a cowboy, a country singer when I was living in the 70s when I first moved back to Texas and listening to WBAP radio on the AM channels. And he had a band called the Coleman County Cowboys, and he sang country songs, you know, just standard country songs. Occasionally there'd be a cowboy song in it, but he was mostly just a, you know, popular country singer. And I remember one of the songs that he sang on back then in the 70s on the WBAP. I don't remember the name. I don't know if I ever knew the name of the song. There was a line in it about Coleman County, where he seems to be from, and it refers to the grass in Coleman County growing beer can tall. Which, you know, I thought that's such a great way to describe the length of the grass. You know, it's beer can tall. And then over the years, though, I don't think he's still in the running in the top 10 of the country singers today, but he is certainly in the top 10 of cowboy poets. And this poetry, this poem that the title of his TV show, Somewhere West of Wall Street, he's reciting the poem at the beginning of it, you know, and they have pictures and slides and paintings that illustrate the poem as read, recites it. And then the rest of the show is him on location at some well-known Western place, usually a ranch, if not a ranch, some real well-known Western museum or something like that. But he, and this last one that I saw, just most recently, so that if you looked him up tonight on the Cowboy Channel, you might find this still on, I don't know. But he's talking about, he's interviewing a guy named the guy that was in the Horse Whisperer movie starring Robert Redford. There was a guy that was running the ranch, and this guy running the ranch is a well-known cowboy singer. He's not so much known as a poet, but he's very well known as a cowboy singer. And he's Don Edwards is his name. I'm sure some of you have heard the name. Red Steagall was interviewing him about cowboy music. And, you know, they did some of the old standards, Little Joe the Wrangler, some of the quintessential cowboy songs, and this sort of thing. But Red Steagall, in that conversation he had with Don Edwards, he mentioned that somebody some famous person had encouraged him and other cowboy poets, and as well as the singers of cowboy songs, you know, to keep on doing what they're doing, because someday what you record in the way of a poem or a cowboy song may be the only record future generations have of certain events or certain people or things or animals, horses, and sort of thing. It was just a really wonderful conversation, probably my favorite of all of the Red Steagall TV shows, and I've watched, I think, all of them for the past year or so. I just discovered them because we switched to Dish, and the Cowboy Channel had not been on the other satellite channel, and it is on Dish. So I started watching that and the Chris Cox horse shows, and I watch them both regularly now, and I highly recommend both of them. Even if you don't ride, I don't ride, I don't own a horse or anything, but if you watch Chris Cox, you know, you'll fall in love with horses and people who ride horses, I think. You know. And it reminded me of a book I had read many, many years ago called Traveler. And it was written by a guy named Richard Adams. It's a fiction book, but what it is Richard Adams took Robert E. Lee's favorite horse, the favorite horse that he rode during the Civil War, whose name was Traveler. And he was actually a saddlebred breed, but it was Robert E. Lee's favorite horse. And this horse is telling the story. In other words, this book called Traveler is the history of the Civil War as viewed by and through the eyes of his horse named Traveler. Absolutely wonderful book. I remember being just blown away by it when I read it 20 years ago, and I ordered it again. I didn't keep the book, or maybe I read it in the library, I don't know, but I didn't have the book, so I ordered it on a used book thing. This reason I just got it in the mail. I'm going to read it again. And having read it like 20 years ago, a lot of things I've probably forgotten, you know, but it's a great book, and I'm going to read it again, and I recommend it to everybody here. Traveler by Richard Adams. And that's all I've got, unless someone has other announcements to make. We stand adjourned until this time.
Brother Tenny Chapel.
Tenny Chapel tomorrow night at 6:30. We resume the music night, the praise and gospel night, whatever you want to call it. And it'll be inside again. And we're not going to do an outside version of it. It's inside the building. Open doors. If you're a musician and need to get there early for a sound check or something like that, we'll try to have the doors open by 5 o'clock or so. But if you're coming for the program, 6:30 is when it starts, and it stops precisely at 8, so it's 90 minutes of family fun and entertainment, and we hope some of you will make it your business to be there tomorrow night. Thanks so much. Anyone else have any comments or further announcements? Thanks to Conrad for the reviews of the book, the new poetry books he had, and for sharing some of the poetry and letting us know about the availability of some of these new books that are now in his store. And thank him also for being our host here at the wonderful Culture Club Art Gallery. We're honored to be here.
Tomorrow morning, the farmers market will be on Market Street from 8 to noon. It's been getting larger and larger each week with more and more produce and crafts. And the weather should be fine for the morning.
Repeat the name of it.
It's the Winnsboro Farmers Market.
Oh, Farmers Market, yeah. Isn't there something on Monday also?
That was last Monday.
What is that?
That was last Monday. You missed
Oh, it's already done?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, Tenny Chapel tomorrow night, and Farmers Market also tomorrow.
Yep.
Tomorrow morning from what, 8 to 12?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, Stacy Fender does a good job of that.
Tomorrow's the longest day of the year. Well, it's the longest daylight of the year. It's still going to be 24 hours like the other days are. So it's no longer than any other day. But there'll be more sunlight, more daylight tomorrow than any other day of the year.
Get dark for 9 o'clock.
Something like that. So whatever you want to do during the day, this is your last chance. Tomorrow is your last chance to get the largest playtime outside.
Fabulous. Okay, I think if there's nothing else, we stand adjourned.
Okay.
Second that motion. I got you, but you're good.
Like that.
Play for 10.